Hello guys, and welcome to my another beginner guide of Albion Online. And today I will be talking about how to start your PvP journey in Albion Online. The first thing to know before starting PvP journey is that you will die in game lots of time. People will rat you, gank you, and scam you, but you should understand that it is normal and part of the game because even every pro player has been in that phase just like you. To relax, just think that was your bad day and start killing player again or abuse low IP players in yellow zone. That's what PvP motto is. Just joking. So how to start the PvP journey? Before that, did you follow my How to Level Up Your Weapon Solo guide? Because I have talked about how it only takes under 1 week of playtime to spec 100 in your favorite PvP weapons. But worry not, even if you are starting now, you can now spec 100 and learn PvP journey with me. So now there are many ways to do PvP in Albion, and for new players, the best way to start learning PvP is by doing fights in safe zones to learn the basics and master your favorite weapon, and you won't lose your gears. Only a small repair cost. Now you may think, what about the black zone and red zone that I see in the map? Should I go there to fight? Nope. Do not go to black zones or red zones and take your first fight because you will lose your gears for sure. Do not follow strangers to red zones or black zones, and do not believe other random players because they will take you to a dungeon and kill you and loot your body unless they are not branded as PK killer. But it is what it is. That is also a PvP activities that you can try one day because everyone did, and with other new players who did not watch my warning or my guides. So for basic, what you should understand is that different areas have their own meta weapons for PvP fights. For example, for solo roaming, you have different types of weapons. For corrupted dungeon, you have different kind of weapon. For faction war, you have different types. For mists, for Ava Roads, ZVZ, arena, and so on. For example, there are cancer types weapons that deals continuous damage, but do not do burst damage, except some weapons. Rat type weapons that are good at escaping and killing low HP players or chasing low HP players. Ganking weapons that can do burst damage as well as dismount players and can chase players. Meta weapons that can sustain damage while doing damage but changes according to updates or patches. Corrupted dungeon weapons that can do both burst or continuous damage. AVA road weapons for solo AVA roads that can take multiple PvE players, and so on. Also, some weapons can be used in multiple areas, while some weapons are best at only specific areas, and so on. So these are the categories of weapons in Albion Online. But to not make you confused about the PvP journey any further, let's learn few things about gears in simple understanding like a gamer. And this will be guide for mainly to solo players. First, there are only two types of weapons that are long-range weapons and melee-type weapons, and that do physical damage and that do magical damage. Okay? So either it's shape-shifting weapons, bows, or healing weapons. They all fall in either ranged weapons or melee weapons and do either physical or magical damage. So just remember that there are two types of weapons that you can equip in the game. It's long-range or melee weapons. And there are three different types of armors in the game that are leather armors, cloth armors, and plate armors. For simple understanding, leather armor gives balanced defense and offense. Cloth armor gives high offense but low defense, and plate armor gives high defense but low offense. You can equip any types of armors with your weapons to add bonus. Likewise, there are leather boots and leather helmets, cloth boots and cloth helmets, and plate boots and plate helmets that gives little boost to your offense or defense from passive and are mostly for their spells, which I will talk later. Similarly, there are offhand items which give different properties or buffs, and combining these offhands with different single-hand weapons makes you even stronger or gives passive skills. Finally, all weapons tree, armors tree, and offhand trees also have artifact gears, which have little high properties than normal gears, and you can also enchant all types of gears to make it even powerful, which is the common thing. So, for now, these are the basic things about the gears and items of the game that you need to understand overall. And let's not talk about food and potions, because we will talk about it later in the video. So, now let's talk about what type of PvP should a new player start? Is it a solo ganking, solo mist, corrupted, or maybe a faction war. And do remember that all the activities I'm talking in these videos should be started in safe zones, okay? So, in my opinion, to start a PvP journey, corrupted dungeons are the best place starting from Yellow Zone's corrupted dungeon. Now you may say, but hey meow, isn't corrupted dungeons are nerfed and do not give good loots, time waste, etc. I cannot deny that, and yes folks, corrupted dungeons are nerfed to the ground, but to start your PvP carrier, it is still the best place for new players. But hey meow, I wanted to be a ganker, and gank an ox carrying 1,000,000 of loot, so I will gank in Yellow Zones to practice. How can corrupted dungeon make me a good ganker? Or you may say, I want to be best at solo mist PvP and want to kill any player that I see while roaming freely. So how can a corrupted dungeon make me a good solo roamer? How can a corrupted dungeon make you a solo ganker, solo roamer, right? Because it is the place where you can learn PvP very fast, learn skills very fast, learn pressing keywords or button very fast without looking and so on. For example, now let's say you are in a Yellow Zone solo mist and looking for a PvP fight, but how much time will it take to find a matching player to fight in mist? As a new player, can you afford expensive gears because there will be 8.4 players in safe mists abusing the map? Can you afford getting knock all the time and learning nothing? And do you think that low IP player will fight you in solo mist, or will you fight high IP player and take a chance? How much time you will waste finding a player that will fight you? Maybe once in a 30-minute, but that's not worth it. Is it worth it? In Corrupted, you can fight a player within a 5 minute of gameplay. So you can fight 4 to 6 players within 30 minutes if you do not fight the main boss and choose to go for another dungeon ASAP. And now, also let's say you want to be a ganker, who want to gank an ox full of Gucci gears or a horse in the road in future, but you are still not good at PvP because you did not follow my guide. You did not have muscle memory to press the poison potion or weapon skill, or you did not manage to see the end of screen to see where the enemy is and so on. And because you started as a ganker from get-go, you are now slowly learning PvP, and you are stuck in PvP journey like I did when I started as a new player. Yes, you can go in solo gank in Yellow Zones to learn the tricks, learn the moves, but it will take time, and any random blue color rats will take part in it, and you will be chased down by 5 blue players, and you will be earning what in that time? Only satisfaction and some 2,000 silver from a knockout player or nothing. Folks, the motive for me to bring this guide is, I want you to earn both silver, fame, and do PvP at the same time, which is why I suggest new players that the best place is hunter-level corrupted dungeons, which is safe. And if you get confident enough, you can try once in Stalker, in Red Zone or Black Zone, and try your skills. And yes, you can try your any type of weapons in Hunter Corrupted Dungeon, either it's ganking weapon or solo roam weapons. Why Corrupted Dungeon? Because in Corrupted Dungeons, you can earn fame by killing mobs, some infamy points that can increase received loots from chests as you increase your infamy point. And you do not lose your gears, and you can try anytime whenever you like, and you can fight other players as much as you want. Also, in Corrupted Dungeon, there is a soft IP cap, which is the best thing in Albion, to make a fair fight between 2 players, which means even if another player is wearing an 8.4 Gucci set, he will have a soft IP cap starting from 900 IP, an additional 10 IP per 100 IP, I think. So, you will be fighting your level of IP players. Also, you get to learn a lot of things. You get to try different weapons that can match your taste. You can try once in a weekend or twice or daily, no worries. Because the more you fight, the more you get experience. Try the Meta Mist weapon in Yellow Corrupted Dungeon, ganking weapons just to try spell and combos, solo roam builds, and so on. You don't have to win all the fights because it's just a practice. Just make a muscle memory. Once you are familiar with your combos and can press the keyword or button without looking, then maybe you are ready to go in real fights. And a small tip for who are already in PvP journey, try to gank or solo roam before maintenance mode, maybe 30 minutes before maintenance. Now back to the topic, you can always come back to Yellow Zones to try new weapons. Okay, so grinding is the key. So now you know basic about weapons, armors, and where to start your PvP journey, right? Now let's talk about what is IP and why IP matters, and also do not matter in PvP fight. So before taking any fight, the first thing that your eye catches is the average IP power of that player when checking them, right? Then maybe you check what weapons they are using, what spells they are using, potions in their slots, and then you decide to take the fight or run. So first, what is an average IP? IP, also known as item power, is just a flat number, just for a reference there that comes after calculation taken from your head-to-toe gears, even from a cape, or overcharging. Basically, it just means to show you how much a player has spec up their gears. For example, you can also see a bronze, silver, gold, diamond badges and so on in their side of gears, which means all these badges comes from a good spec, and good spec means higher IP. So even if you are wearing a flat 4 gears and you have full spec with gold or diamond badge, you can have a higher IP. Now here is an interesting thing about IP. Let's say you have a full spec leather jacket, some 10 spec in your weapon, and you are wearing a cape 6.3, and your average IP is 1300, and you see another player whose IP is 1100, but has a diamond badge in his weapon, low spec or silver badge in leather armor, not wearing even a cape, and he is just a 1100 IP player. Do you think that 1100 IP does not have a chance of beating your 1300 IP stats? If you vote 1300 IP, then maybe you will be wrong, because that 1100 IP will do so much damage to your 1300 IP. And if played well, that 1100 IP will easily kill your 1300 IP stats. Yes, I know skills matter, but I am talking about the chances and damage in a 1 versus 1 fight. So did you get the point what I am trying to say? Why would a 1300 IP player will lose to a 1100 IP player, and why that 1100 IP player will do so much damage? It's the weapon IP that matters, not the whole average IP. So now whenever you check, other players see their weapon first and then see their armor, because armor also gives the extra boost to offense or defense. So average IP first and weapon and armor second. Just see these for now. Slowly you will get used of it, and then maybe you can try checking other things too in short time to counter their weapons, which comes from only experience, not from a guide. Now also remember that extra bonus damage also comes from the types of foods, some offhands, armors you're wearing, and the spec. Got it? So if you find a player that have bronze in weapon and gold in helmets and boots, you may have a chance of winning that fight because you have a good spec in your weapon. Also, this is also the reason why Albion made weapons to spec hard, and then armor, and then boots, helmets, offhands. They want you to know which is stronger. Now let's talk about how to find the full build by yourself to try your first PvP fight. So usually there are already lots of gear lists out there, but you can always try murderledger.com to find your build as a starter and learn why they made that build and how they support each other in corrupted dungeons or even other activities. Later in game, you can always make your own gear too in the future once you know how weapon and armor work, because why not? Remember, there is no any permanent best build that do not let you die. Just create your build one day or test other pro players' builds and have fun. And as from my point of view, when making a solo PvP build, it should always have a mobility, which is the #1 requirement for solo player, decent damage or burst damage to take enemy by surprise, and weapons that suit your playstyle. Just know how your armor benefits your weapon. Do you need a burst damage for your weapon, or a fast attack speed for your weapon, or a skill cooldown, reflex, and so on? Once you know how you can make your weapon special by choosing certain armor or chest piece, you will start to create your own build, but it will take lots of time. Also, another important thing is, do not change your builds time to time unless you are still looking for your best build. What I mean is, do not start leveling up 3 different types of weapons together because you see those build in meta lists like leveling your bows, spears, and mace together. Yes, you can always try different chest piece with your weapon, but you should not change your weapon all the time. For starter, just go with your pace and spec one weapon tree at a time, and it should be either long range or melee weapons. So if you are a bow player, then try all types of bows that are used in PvP fights because you are already being good at long range builds, so why go melee suddenly? It will affect your playstyle. And if you are starting with swords, then build your sword build and start getting pro at swords or any other melee weapons. Do not go both bows and swords style, I mean long range and melee, because you will learn very slowly and level up very slowly. Just be good at long range or melee weapon. Another example, I like using bows, and I am good at bow instead of melee weapons. So let's say some melee weapon killed me, and it is meta, so I will not go for melee build now. I will use bows, then I will go for staff builds that will do magic damage or fire staff and so on, because I have already created a habit of long-range fight. Maybe I will try bruiser-type chest piece for my bows to sustain damage, or cloth armor or leather armor like mercenary jacket to get heal. But I will not change my bow to swords or mace or other weapons because I lost. I will start to learn how to counter that sword builds with my bows and with my chest piece, and that's all. Once I am confident in long-range fights and level up my long-range weapons to max, and I get bored of long-range weapon, I will now shift to melee weapons to try new things to refresh maybe. But I will still be confident in long-range weapon though. Remember that in Albion, long-range weapons kill melee weapons, and melee weapons kills long-range weapons, so it's both balanced. It's just your skills. Later, when you start to create allies, then you can go small-scale PvP fights, and you can look for group PvP builds and work together. Now let's review some builds used in-game just to get a small knowledge how you can create your build or know why you can use that build. Starting with Bear Paws, Fiend Cowl, Assassin Jacket, Royal Sandals with Undead Cape. Let's see the uses. Bear Paws for damage and have mobility spells to chase players and have good third slot ability. Less cooldown good skills. Fiend Cowl have purge effects and can purge most of the 90% skills in Albion. Long range skill, good for purging boots skills most of the time. Assassin Jacket have invisible skills with offense increase skill, used for both ganking, resetting fights, or skill cooldown. Royal Sandals for long spring while increasing damage. Undead Cape have invisible skills to run from fight or go for finishing. So these melee builds have high mobility, high damage, good for chasing vulnerable players, and can also run from losing fights. Where do you think this goes to? Solo ganking most of the time. Now let's see another build which is long-range weapon after melee weapon. Bolt Casters, long-range weapon with high damage and good main spell for finishing players, but can be interrupted. Harvester Cap, versatile helmet for CC that can make player go to sleep. Cleric Robe, high offense, low defense, but have main spell for defense, soldier boots. High mobility and can chase low HP players or run. Keeper Cape for extra bonus damage. So these builds have lots of high damage and can melt any players, but has low defense and only have chest piece skill for defense. Highly depend on weapon main skill. Good for solo PvP like in Corrupted Dungeon. Now let's talk about Cancer, build that do continuous damage. Cursed Staff, Leering Cane, Royal Helmet, Armor of Valor, Royal Boots, Undead Cape Cursed Staff. Continuous damage skills good for making player engaging in fight and high burst damage in main skill. Leering Cane, offhand weapon with passive skill for additional CC duration, combined with Royal Helmet for stunning players, Armor of Valor, defensive chest piece, can punish other continuous damage dealer, shoots magic orbs and silence them, increase damage resistance, and good for 1 versus 1. Next is the Royal Boots, good for chasing high mobility players, immunity to slows and roots. Undead Cape, go invisible in low HP to escape or finish .HP player while in invisible. So highly depends on continuous damage, good defense, have CC, good mobility with boots, not for ganking mounted players maybe, good for 1 versus 1, not solo roam build, good for Corrupted. So did you get how builds are created? Some have high mobility with damage because it can shine in one area. Some has high burst damage. Some have CC and continuous damage and so on. Different builds, different play styles and so on. And with your main weapon, you can build these too. You can try high mobility, burst, or continuous. Chest piece, helmets, offhands, boots, and capes can decide what playstyle you can get in. So, when you try to create your build, either it will be for Corrupted, or for ganking, or for solo roam only. You cannot make a weapon build that will be meta in all places. You got that clear, right? And if you made a build and you got good kills in corrupted 1v1 dungeons, and you took that build in solo roam and you died, it's not because your build was wrong, it's because your build was for only corrupted, not for roaming. Did you get that? But still, try your PvP journey choosing one type of playstyle at a time, from corrupted to your favorite weapons. Now, you know the basic of weapons and armors, where to start PvP, what is average IP, PvP builds, and which type to choose, or what properties the build should have. So now let's cover the roles of helmets and boots in Albion and PvP in short. You already now know how much weapon and chest piece are important with each other, right, to make your build? You can always try or copy different helmets and boots with your build to make it even better. And, surprisingly, helmets and boot skills are not very different too and have almost similar properties. You have shield in helmets and you can also have shield in boots. You can have a skill for bonus damage in helmet, and you can also have same skills in boots, purify in helmets and purify in boots too. Lots of skills are similar, but whatever it is, the 80% of time your skills in boots should be sprint for running, and the use of boots and helmets are for their abilities only. Also, interesting fact is that there are two different types of helmets. Helmets with defensive skills and helmets with versatile skills. Defensive skills mean that can decrease the damage or reflects the damage, makes you God for a second, or have purify skills. Versatile skills helmets are those that are not for defense purpose, but for other varieties. Maybe it has stun effect, purge effect, cooldown effect, damage effect, and so on. Also, having a high tier helm or enchanted helmets helps in energy regeneration, and that's all. Similarly, helmets and boots also have an artifact item which gives more HP or energy regen than normal, but cost more. Now let's talk about food and potions to use in PvP. If you are unsure what type of food you should use as a starter, then go for what your build is about. If you are playing a hard bruiser type, then you go food that will give you bonus health and health bar per hit, or a skill cooldown food if you are a bow player. Damage increase foods if you want to burst damage or high damage for your weapon and so on. There are all kinds of foods, and you can explore what food can be best for you or copy what pro players are using for their build. Among potions, what invisible potions, healing potion, poison potions, and resistance potions are mostly used. Beside these potions, you can try other potions too to create a fun gameplay. Again, just use it in a safe zone before going to black zone. Now let's talk about Albion's setting that I use in PvP, and maybe you can try too. So for players who are doing PvP in yellow zones, or players who are transporting materials through yellow zones only, turn on the warning notification setting. Honestly, I still use this setting so that in Mists, I do not zone out when looting a player in the portal gate. Next is the vanity setting. I like turning off, meaning only in safe areas for others to see, and for me it's always. In graphics setting, I turn off VSync, and the resolution is 1920 by 1080. Visual quality is on your preference, however, the show effects should always be all, no matter what. If you have high graphic, then you can turn other effects too, like bloom effects and texture filtering. Another important thing to turn on in the obscured character highlighting, which makes a hidden object or player behind tree or rocks visible nothing much. Now for audio, ambience for to hear any nature sounds or sound of portals, dungeons, and so on. That is not recommended when ganking, as we need to have a clear sound of player horse approaching or player farming resources. Master volume for overall sound of everything, and you can adjust as you like. I like keeping it in full sometime. Sound effects should be max. Now for interface setting, I have been playing in default HUD setting, but you can edit however you like. Always have your show off-screen name tags on, and name tag type big others. Now for control setting, I like using quick cast on button press as I am a long-range player and it feels easier for me. Usually it is best to have button press setting. I like using auto-target aggressor and I have it on. Now let's jump to social setting, where I like a channel that do not show any message except whisper messages. Just create a new tab and put whisper channels to it, and that's all. Also, another thing that I changed in key binding setting is the use of potions to T keyword. I recommend players to use the most easily accessible key for potion slot, as it is mostly used ones or weapon E or armor skill R. And that's all about the settings that I use in PvP. Now to wrap up my video, here are the extra tips for PvP. If you miss your weapon main skill, restart fight. If your armor E spell does not count worth it, or you just wasted your armor E spell, then restart fight. If your enemy has a healing potion, then always poke them and make them use it so that their potion slot goes in cooldown. If your potion slot is in cooldown because you mistakenly wasted it, then just poke or restart fight until it gets cooldown. Never use boot skill if you are fighting close combat. Use it either to chase down enemy or to run or restart. If you mistakenly use your boot skill, then wait for the cooldown. To check if the player is in a group or not, you can try adding them in your party. If they are in a group, then you will know. Have a 10 siphoned energy to overcharge your gears and use it when 1 versus 1 fighting only if you are an intermediate level PvP player. Not recommended for beginner players. If you used all your skill in dismounting equipped players, then do not engage. So folks, if you have more PvP tips, then you can add in comment box. Also, if you like this video, then please subscribe my channel and help me motivate to bring more and more videos like this. Thank you and see you in next video. Peace out.